Welcome back, Star Wars fans, to Coruscant Radio Underground. We're here again to talk about the Book of Boba Fett.
Yay!
Uh, got Lunar Girl Kelly joining us again because we had so much fun having her the week we had her. We just finished the season out with us. So,
Hi, friends.
yeah, we're really glad you were able to join us again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me all these times. I loved it.
It looks like we've man, I don't know what to do with myself with all these people in the chat. I'm not really used to this, but yeah, thank you. I see Chantel, Joker Voice just popped into the chat. Welcome.
Hail, Joker.
I see Megan, Dragon Buddy. I think the Hectolorian is here himself. I think that pretty much covers everybody that's in here right now, but thank you for joining us. And we're going to dive into this. We're going to talk about the episode, and then we'll kind of talk about how we feel about the series as a whole and what we think this means for the future of Star Wars in general. Like we didn't just do this franchise to just throw it away and forget about it. So,
oh yeah, there's a reason for everything. Favreau and Filoni, those guys
they're playing the long game.
Yes, they are.
And I still feel like this show, and I've said this pretty much every week, but I still constantly go back to, I know it doesn't work totally well from start to finish. It kind of is all over the map in the storytelling. There might have been too much difference in the flavor of some of the directors, where episodes just feel different. They feel like part of a different show.
Yeah.
But Jon Favreau told us from the start that this was essentially Mandalorian 2.5. This is an interlude. This was and I think the problem is it wasn't marketed that way. And
they said this a whole year ago, like right after they came out with, December 2021, Book of Boba Fett. That's when they said it, and they kind of didn't follow through.
Yeah.
And they just sort of didn't mention it anymore after that.
Yeah.
I still contend that a lot of the issues kind of with the reception of this show is just how it was marketed.
Yeah.
I think that's fair, but it kind of jumps around. It has its flaws. Overall, we finished it. So I will say start to finish, I like the story they told. I like more than that, all of the things, the little threads they're starting to give us for how this could impact all of these other shows going forward.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I still think we've got some announcements. I think they're probably holding on to them, although they're not real good. We have Celebration in May.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping that they're holding on to some announcements for Celebration. Lucasfilm has this really bad habit of having an event coming up and making all of their announcements a couple of weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they do that. But they're real bad about that.
The fan rumor is that possibly during the Super Bowl we might get something, but the Super Bowl's not on ABC, so will we have to wait for the Disney commercial? And there's so much speculation.
Who's airing the Super Bowl this year?
I want to say NBC, but even then, I got so
it's not like they don't have the money to pay for the spot.
Oh yeah. If you want to get hundreds of thousands of people from all different age brackets, you want to put it on during the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
Everyone except me is really invested.
Yeah. And it may in fact be where we get our first look at Kenobi, because they can't wait until Celebration because it comes out the same week. Yeah. So that's probably a good spot to drop a trailer for.
It would make sense,
What's their next big thing? We're a good ways out from anything else. We're probably talking third quarter, fourth quarter for Andor, and I don't think they're going to spend the money for a Super Bowl spot for the Bad Batch.
No, I don't think so. No.
I love the Bad Batch.
No,
don't get me wrong, but it's just not everybody's cup of tea.
Right. Well, it's the animated. Animation is fine. It's fun. They do a lot of really cool things with the animation, but it's not as big of a draw. There are still a lot of people going, well, I don't understand this. It's like, well, because you didn't watch the animated series. And
Right.
It's like, but just kind of getting into this episode, like, what did y'all like? What did you not like? What were your favorite moments in this episode?
I'll let Marisha go first.
Okay.
So I really loved it whenever Grogu goes lazy and goes to sleep next to the Rancor. It was just like, well, there you go.
Yes.
I mean, it was so, it just really spoke to that innocence, that he's got.
Yes.
He's just like, oh, you're tired, I'm tired, let's just chill together. And I don't know, I kind of think I love it.
Snuggled right up to him, and it was it's so cute. That was a great scene.
Yeah, it really was. So, and I love me some Baby Yoda. Oh, and when she says Grogu, that's a terrible name. I'm not calling you that.
That was a cute nod to Lucas. I enjoyed it, and I like the humor that Pelly brings into things. You're all suspense and sitting on the edge of your chair, and then she just says something like that and just leaves you in stitches.
Right. Yeah. She kind of brings this real frantic energy that's kind of that same sort of frantic energy that Anthony Daniels brings to Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's a little different. It's a little more over the top, but it's that just real frantic, stressed out about everything energy. But Star Wars has always had humor in it.
Yeah.
But not all humor that has been done in Star Wars, especially in the last few years, not all of it works. Not all of it feels
trilogy.
Right. Not all of it feels Star Wars. I think there's jokes in Solo that don't feel very Star Wars. I think there's jokes in the sequel trilogy that don't feel very Star Wars. But I think that the humor she's doing there, I think it works perfectly.
I think it does too.
And you've warmed up to it. Andrew didn't love it initially.
No, the first time she showed up, I did not like the character. I didn't like the character the first time she showed up, but I think I think she's gotten better each time she has shown up, and I think she's really kind of found that character now.
Yeah. I mean, she grows on you, and when you realize that she's not just like a one episode person, that she's actually becoming part of the storyline. I mean, she says some things that just like just this episode alone, she sees the X-Wing fighter coming in and she thinks it's the cops. We got it quick, clean up the place.
Right.
And
I just applied for that permit today.
Yes.
Just finished.
And we all know somebody exactly like her.
And see, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, exactly. It's like, yeah, she's a little bit much, but I interact with plenty of people just on a weekly basis that are just a little bit much.
Yeah. Also, Chantel, I still see you there in the chat. I'm sorry, but I think your Twi'lek buddy is going to be hanging around with Pelly for a while.
I think she's his new boy toy.
Yeah, I hope not.
I think he's a new boy toy, rather. Yeah.
I think you're right. But
nice head tails. I was like, oh, I think I know where this is going.
Well, she dated a Jawa, so
it's true.
Got that weird taste.
So how about you? What was your favorite?
Again, it's Grogu. Of course it's Grogu. I mean, it's me. But when Grogu landed with R2 and the dome opened up and I was like, oh, Grogu's flying the X-Wing with R2. And then he just like pulls down his shirt just a tiny little bit to see the chainmail. And it was just like, we got the answer. We don't have to wait 6 months to figure out who he chose,
Yeah.
So I know it's the Book of Boba, but Grogu is a part of this book. So that was my favorite.
He's a show stealer, always a show stealer.
Oh, yeah. I love him.
Now, that kind of all takes place at one of my least favorite things in the episode, which was as soon as Boba Fett falls off the Rancor, everybody starts shooting the Rancor.
Oh, yes.
You know, the Mandalorian kind of has to run in like, wait, you know, what are you doing?
Yes.
So, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure why they chose to do that. But they did, and it's fine. I mean, it didn't like ruin the episode. I do want to say, like, if you're in the chat, like, I know some of y'all in the chat, there were things you really didn't like, and go ahead and post those things, because there's some of them that I do want to address. But
I really wanted him to be eaten by the Rancor.
I really like. So this, you know, this series, or this episode, I feel like it went really, really well.
Yeah.
Right up until the scorpion droids, or whatever we're calling them, the big battle droids, show up.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of went off the rails. It was like they got to that point in the fight and they just didn't know exactly where to go with it. And it kind of gets unorganized. It becomes chaotic. The scorpion droids, they were just kind of conveniently as fast or as slow as they needed to be to suit the moment.
Yeah.
Like when Mando jumps on the back of Pelly's vehicle and they take off, and they've gotten way away, and they've had a conversation, they're way away, and then all of a sudden the thing's right behind them again.
Yeah.
Maybe they took a shortcut.
Never know.
Yeah. I do like the droids, and it's always cool to see leftover. I mean, those were unused prequel trilogy concepts.
Yes.
And I like how much better, you know, when we do those things digitally now, like how much better they look.
Yeah, they did look pretty sweet.
Yeah.
At some point, like you would think eventually they would run out of unused concept art, but they've been mining that for decades now.
45 years.
Right. Yep. And they will eventually run out of stuff. And I think we've started seeing them run out of particularly the Ralph McQuarrie stuff. And, you know, I feel like at this point now, there's a lot of it we've seen in animated series that they haven't done live action.
That's
yet.
true.
Yes.
And who would have ever thought Melurons, which are a thing, like a fruit, just gets a one-line random mention in one of the X-Wing series books.
Right.
Like in the 90s. And like, it's like Dave Filoni's favorite thing to just put in episodes.
Like entire episodes of Rebels about tracking down the Meluron, you know, that somebody or other just has to have.
Right. This issue here, you know, I don't know. I mean, I guess we could have shown up in Slave One. It's one of those things, like maybe it made more sense, but this was more fun.
That's what I believe, because, you know, back, when was it? Episode 3, Boba says, I want to ride it. And then this whole season, the rest of the season, I'm like, I want to see Boba ride the Rancor. If he showed up in Slave One, the fight would have been over like that. No Rancor, no nothing, you know. But so I'm I know not everybody, you know, thinks that way, but I kind of like that he showed up on the Rancor. He learned how to ride it. He's got his pet now, you know. It's his Rancor.
Yeah. I'll say this, like, if I hear someone in my house, 9 times out of 10, I'm grabbing a rifle. That one other time, I might feel like grabbing the baseball bat.
I mean, that Rancor was the thing that got those scorpion droids, you know, so
this is the official warning not to come in our house at night unannounced.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those
things. We live in the country.
Like, right.
We got rifles.
I just feel like the difference between the ship and the Rancor, it's just, I don't think it matters. Like,
yeah,
you know, you could have done either one. And for me, that doesn't, I know a lot of people were really, really upset about him not bringing in the ship. I just think the Rancor was more fun. And it looked phenomenal. It gave them a chance to show it off. they could have explained it in a way where he didn't have to go back and get the Rancor.
Yeah. I loved it. I really did. Can't help it. I want the story. I want the fantasy, and they delivered on that part.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the Rancor stuff. Like it was awesome. I mean, full on King Kong homage.
Yeah. Climbing up that citadel looking thing. But am I the only person? I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a mom, but I'm looking at the place like, stop shooting the Rancor. He's making a mess, like good thing Boba has all these tons of monies in Jabba's palace, because like this is going to take a while to clean up.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm getting a kick out of this. I'm getting a kick out of the conversation, the sidebar of everyone agreeing not to just show up at Andrew's house unannounced. It's good advice. My brother-in-law broke at Andrew's house to make him breakfast one time, like long before any of us were married. And fortunately, he didn't shoot him, and he lived to marry my sister, and they have beautiful children that I love. But no one ever did that again.
But the Rancor looks absolutely amazing.
It really did.
Yeah.
And it's like as little as there was to the Rancor in Return of the Jedi. I mean, to see it in live action be that impressive, it's really something. It's always something to see a concept that there just wasn't the technology to fully flesh it out.
Yeah.
In the 70s, and to see it like really come to life like that, it's pretty incredible.
I know it's kind of reaching, but the Rancors, they what do you call it? Make an impression on the first person that they see, or you make an impression on them. I can't help but to think back to Omega in Bad Batch when she sees the Rancor, and he kind of she impressed upon him. And is this the same Rancor? Like, I don't know. I just always tend to think like that on tangents. Like, does this have anything to do with that? Because I don't know. Favreau and Filoni don't do things just to do things. They always have sneaky reasons that reveal themselves down the road. So
yeah.
Mochi was his name?
Yeah, something like that.
Mochi.
Yeah.
Something like that. Joker would know.
But yeah, I mean, I do think this is, definitely a different Rancor, but it's doesn't mean we can't have that one show up somewhere.
It's just cool, brother and sister, impressed upon a Rancor.
Right.
Yeah.
So what else? What else really stood out to you in this episode? What did you enjoy? Like, I think there's good stuff. Like, I think a lot of the fight scene, Joker mentioned the fight, the street level stuff with Mando and Boba. And I like the very Butch and Sundance moment where they've accepted that they're fixing to go out. Like, we're going to go out in a blaze of glory. And
I loved it. Something that really struck me, like right in the feels, was when Cad Bane and Boba Fett were talking about how they're older now. They're just tired. They're not the same guys that they were 20, 30 years ago. And that just like kicked me right in the feels. And that also kind of explained why everybody's like, how come Boba's not kicking ass anymore? Well, he's older now, like.
Yeah. No, I mean, in fairness, I would love to go back, and I would love to see an earlier show, and I would love to see a more War of the Bounty Hunters-esque story and see that part of, see Boba like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think they could go back and do that. And I think it would be a lot of fun.
Most people aren't still that person.
And I think at this point, like, there's such a call for it. Do what?
I mean, most people aren't still that person in their 50s.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
about
But
where
the
he's
thing
at?
is, like, he's kicking ass when he needs to. Like,
Yeah, but he's the kind of the bloodlust seems to have kind of
Yeah.
he just
I
seems to be
mean,
kind of
so
disenchanted
I
with it.
think the biggest problem there is the one thing that I will say this series does a absolutely terrible job of is conveying time passage.
Yeah.
yes, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that.
I think we've seen a lot more time pass. I mean, we know he was with the Tuscans for 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Had to
I
have.
think a fair amount more time passes even after he's starts kind of building his team. I don't
Yeah.
think they did a good job of express because the it appears the Rancor is already bigger. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't think they did a good job of conveying time passage.
And it could this could have happened over the course of 10 years, or it could have happened over the course of 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, I think it ultimately,
Yeah.
I think, takes place over a few months post him coming back from the, where we catch up with.
But honestly, I assumed he was with the Tuscans, 6 months, until you kind of sit down and you start doing the math, and you're like, well, actually,
yeah,
It had to
for
have
it
been
all,
several
it had
years.
to have been longer than that.
like you literally could have done a whole show. You could have done 7 episodes of him just with the Tuscans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you think back to it, like when we first got the Tuscans, how many people do you remember said, I hate the Tuscans. Why are they showing us the Tuscans? Stop showing us Tuscans and show Boba Fett. And I kind of like the Tuscans. But, and now there's a whole lot of people who wanted to see more of the Tuscans. But,
Yeah.
like some people love the Tuscans and, some people, so you
I don't
can't
know. I mean,
everybody.
right. You're never going to please everybody. Now, I do feel like this one, I think there are a lot of complaints about this episode in particular.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of them. I don't agree with all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there are some very good, some things that they're calling out inappropriately. So,
Yeah.
the one that I don't get, and there may be people, and I want to hear your side of it if you're in the chat and you disagree on this. The big moment that really stood out to me that I seem to have read different than everybody kind of in our circle that we chat with online, but where he says, we're not suited for this. Him and Finnick are walking through, and he's having to bow, and he's like, man, if only it wasn't the right arm. Why did it have to be the right arm? And he turns to Finnick. He says, we're not cut out for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was shocked at how many people immediately thought, what, he's just going to leave now?
Yeah, I didn't get that out of it. I just felt it kind of humanized him. I know when all of a sudden nobody likes you, nobody respects you, and then snap, overnight you have people bowing and giving you food and giving you gifts. Makes you a little bit uncomfortable, kind of humanizes you,
Yeah,
that modesty.
I think it's largely an acknowledgement from him that this isn't the life that we were raised to live. This is not, this isn't who we are. This is this is this is circumstance. This isn't the path that we believed we were on. We weren't trained for it. We weren't raised for it.
Yeah.
So and then I think Finnick's response to him is very much like, well, if not us, then who? And it's not this thing where we we don't get the moment. It was like dun dun dun, cut away to someone else who's like going to take the place. Like I don't think that's what it is at all. I really think it's just an acknowledgement of this isn't who we are. Like,
look how far he came. That's how I took it, is look how far he came. I have a lot to incorporate into that, but I'll wait until we get to our overall picture of the whole series.
Yeah. Sorry, I just messed myself up trying to kill a bot here. But no, I like the moment. To me, it's very much and I said this in the chat yesterday, I think it's very much the Conan the Barbarian ending, It's this guy. You know, you have this barbarian, this soldier, this warrior, and finds himself sitting on a throne as king.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the life he's cut out for, but it's the one he has.
And with everything that he's been through, there's that, you know, there's got to be that sense of disbelief, like, holy crap, look where I am, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, it's one of those things, and I think they both understand, you know, it's like, even though how many times in life do you know, you're like, we're going to do this thing, and then you finally get it and you're like, oh shit, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was going to be like, you know, more exciting and less groveling, you know, on the part of, you know.
I mean, that would make me uncomfortable if people start groveling just because I did something, you know? So I get it. I totally get it. It's relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else? What else did you really like? I mean, we had a lot of stuff early in the episode. What did y'all think about Grogu showing up in the X-Wing without Luke?
Like,
I'll let you go.
it feels a little contrived.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's fine,
but
why? I mean, is it just like Luke making a statement of like, I mean, it almost like it makes him come off as just a little bit of a jerk. Like, fine, you don't want my lightsaber? Get in this X-Wing and hightail. I'm not even taking you. Just take yourself. I mean, to Tatooine of all places, unless Luke has some really specific reason for staying away from Tatooine that they're going to pull out later at some point. I mean, yes, obviously Luke Skywalker shows up and it's a whole different ball game. And they didn't want to, they wanted Grogu to come, but they didn't want Luke there. And they were like, oh, well, we'll just send. It just, like, from a story perspective, it doesn't really make that much sense, I don't think.
Right.
I put together, you know, like I usually do, my own headcanon on why Luke didn't come. 1, no attachments. You know, 2, Grogu is 50-something years old. You know, he made his choice like an adult child. And Luke didn't know where he was going. He didn't know Mando was on Tatooine, you know, but Grogu needed to sense that with Mando. So that's how I think he got there. It's just something that I made up.
I think Chantel's right. I think it was largely played for the laugh. You know, it doesn't otherwise. I think the only other problem is, you know, Luke and Boba Fett have a history. And I think if you have Luke show up, it's this whole other thing that you have to solve.
Yeah.
Like it's Luke. It complicates matters. I think if you had them come in an episode or 2 earlier where they had time to hash some of that out, or at least understand that there was a common enemy, then
it's a really weird time for Luke to show up.
It's honestly a really weird time for Grogu to show up. It almost feels a little forced to do that, to get him back to Mando for season 3 of The Mandalorian. You know, I'm glad he's back, you know, but it feels a little forced the way they did it.
I can see your point.
He's awfully cute. You know, it's like one of those.
Joker's right. You know, now we can make a Grogu in an X-Wing.
Yes, I knew that.
Yep.
Somebody somewhere has got to watch this and make that. So.
Oh, I'm sure. And they've also got him going tap tap tap, tap tap tap.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Tap, tap, tap. Like anybody who's ever traveled with a kid.
Yes.
You know, like my daughter came back from vacation with my sister's family and she's like, I'm so tired of this song. We listened to it 12 times on the way back from Texas, you know, and it's like, because she's 4 and she's like, I want to listen to that song. No, yes, no, yeah. So they turn it on because they're tired of listening to her gripe. And so it's like, that's exactly what traveling with a kid is like. Tap, tap, tap.
Yeah.
Tap,
yes.
tap, 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 tap.
Yes.
Now the X-Wing, R2 in the X-Wing showing up, actually, I thought that was going to play into the fight with the droids.
I kind of thought so too.
Well,
but...
in the EU, we saw, at times in the EU, we saw R2, not just flying the X-wing, but actually fighting in the X-wing. And I kind of thought that R2 was going to come in and take care of the Scorpion droids, but
Yeah.
But I'm still all about the Rancor showing up. It was just too cool.
Yeah. Trying to think of another part that I liked. We already covered Rancor. We covered Cad Bane. We covered.
What did y'all think about the final fight with Cad Bane? When how that ends?
He needed to go. Like when he showed up, I was like, somebody needs to shoot that evil son of a gun, and they did.
I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that agree with you. I think he's dead. I think the thing is that we can do lots of stuff with Cad Bane earlier than this. We're going to be doing, I'm sure, plenty of live action series that he can show up in. He can show up in Andor. He can show up in Kenobi. I mean, there's all kinds of places he can show up.
Yeah.
And I think we're at this point, like, characters can't live forever.
Yeah.
And I think that I love the duality of the situation where you have him and he says, it's his last lesson, to Boba Fett, which is, look out for yourself.
Yeah.
Which is in direct conflict with Boba's new look at life, which is you won't get far without a tribe.
Yeah.
And so I think that all of that is a very nice way to wrap that up, especially with Cad Bane playing such a big role, even though it was just in an animatic. We didn't actually get the episode, but we do have episodes with them together, with Boba and Cad Bane together, but specifically the one that leaves the dent in the helmet, that animatic. And I think that it's fitting. If anyone was going to kill Cad Bane, it should have been Boba Fett.
Definitely.
And I think that Joker voice is right. I think there is a poetry to it, because it's like, he's there with the gun. He's there. He's ready to just shoot him, because you need to learn to look out for number one. And the lessons that he learned from this tribe, that
family is stronger.
That Cad Bane's literally telling him, you don't need, that's what, kind of comes back to bite him in the butt. Yeah. So
I still think there's a chance that he might not be dead, though, because of that little light on him that still, they showed it down to, what was it, like 1 bar, the equivalent of 1 bar he had left, but it didn't show it run out. So is he dead, or, or is he pulling a Cobb? He might be pulling a Cobb.
You get it back.
Pulling a Max Rebo.
Yeah. I mean, I firmly believe he's dead, but
that's epic.
Well, they definitely needed more back to tanks by the end of that.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. I personally, after watching the whole series, I think that Robert Rodriguez, I think that Robert Rodriguez, he's clearly a successful director.
Yeah.
I don't know that his style really works in Star Wars. I think that it worked fine when he did that episode of The Mandalorian, and maybe that he's fine directing as long as that he's not the guy in charge.
Yeah.
But I think we got a little, because he does campy. I mean, that's the thing about Robert Rodriguez. His stuff, the Grindhouse stuff, his Westerns, they're very campy.
Andrew says, those bikers, they're spy kids in space.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I don't believe for a second, until somebody tells me different, I will believe that those are fully his creation.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't my favorite characters, but
I don't think the characters themselves were actually bad. I just think it's the way they're presented. I don't think any of them did anything wrong as actors.
No,
I think they did a good job doing what they were told to do. But silly things like being an avid shooter myself, like anytime I'm watching anything and the gunplay is wrong, I get upset with it.
Right.
And so like spinning around to before you shoot. Yeah. So there are things that they did with some of that just don't work for me. And just come across as campy and silly. And look, I know, and I'll sit here and I'll be the first to admit to you that yes, sometimes Star Wars does campy. It always has.
Right.
It's not something new, but Star Wars has a very particular brand of camp.
Mm-hmm. Am I going to pick on their colors though? No, because they're young. When I was their age, I was the grunger who, dressed in clothes that nobody liked and dyed my hair. And yeah, right. I'm sure I have some lying around somewhere. I dyed my hair. I had like a million piercings in my ears and in my navel, like I wore combat boots and everybody looked at me weird. And here you have these young kids who are colorful. They're modded, like this is the evolution of what we were in the 90s. So, and now that we're older, we're looking at them like, you damn kids, get off my sand lawn,
Well, what I do, and I think I said this when we did our first episode on the show after they showed up. The thing that I do appreciate, I don't think that they were done particularly well. It's not even the look. The characters are okay. It's just that their portrayal comes off as a little weak. Mm-hmm. To me, I think that, the first thing we should have done when Boba hires them as enforcers was given them better weapons, right?
Yeah.
Instead of the little pea shooters they go into battle with here at the end. But the thing that I do appreciate about the concept is that we're 5 years after a brutal dictatorial empire.
Yeah.
In this era of the galaxy that's very, very drab, draconian, very uniform. Everything is suppressed. Free thought is suppressed. And so now we're seeing we're seeing the young people in a place embracing something new, finding this new thing for themselves.
And
that is very realistic.
Well, it's a lot like Eastern Europe after the Berlin Wall came down.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, communism fell and things got, all of a sudden
there was color, there was rock,
and there were kids doing, weird things because, why not?
Why not? They had freedom.
Yeah. But I still don't love bikes. All that being said, like again, like Andrew was saying, yes, it's much more Coruscant. The colors and okay. And here's my thing: like if they're so broke, so very broke, then where are they
steal water?
Did they have to steal water? Then how on earth are they affording cybernetic arms? I'm just saying, like, I feel a little less sorry for you. Like your whole pitch about how badly off you are would just seem a little more sad if you didn't have 3 million credits worth of fake eyes.
It's true. It's true. Then again, I knew a lot of people that wouldn't pay the electric bill because they wanted that new tattoo that bad. So
yeah.
I wasn't one of
them. I guess it's all about what your priorities are.
Yeah. I'm not saying the
credit card debt is real.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
I can agree with that. Like that the end one is definitely an homage to American Graffiti. I understand why they chose to it is kind of going back to that era, pulling something directly out of that era.
Yeah.
But hostile environments are not conducive to bright and shiny and clean.
Yeah.
Their clothes are too clean. Their bikes are too clean. Beat them up a little bit and they're fine.
Yeah.
They just stand out. They stick out too much. And I just think that they kind of add a really, really weird element to the whole thing.
I hope though, as it goes, it's good. They're going to, because I think we're going to see these characters again, especially since they all show up
too.
In the end. I'm hoping that as the series goes, it's all going to just gel a little more. Mm-hmm. Maybe that they're going to kind of, maybe someone else will kind of be responsible for their look next season, and they'll fit a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think
it's a cool
they're
concept.
there. I don't think they're just going to throw the concept away.
No,
but we'll have to see. I mean, the thing is,
the accents.
Yeah, it's just off.
Okay, that was the other thing. Like, why are they speaking with a core accent? Because that's what that is. That's a core accent, that British accent.
Yes.
Like, they live on Tatooine. Why are they speaking with a core world or a Coruscant accent?
Yeah, you're right. Maybe they're immigrants.
or I mean, maybe that's just like part of their subculture. Like, we're not, I mean, because living in Mississippi, there's definitely people that you look at and you're like, yeah, you like made that accent up. Like, you totally unlearned the way you spoke.
Both the people that try to ditch their Southern accent and with people that fully embrace the Gone with the Wind Southern accent.
And these women, and they talk like this, and no one really talks like this. I mean, there's Southern accents, and none of them sound like this anymore. Maybe 100 years ago.
Golden Girls.
Yeah, maybe like 100 years ago, but no, not anybody talking like that is fake. They learned their accent from watching Gone with the Wind.
I'm
just saying.
Yeah.
There is oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, there's one thing, and I said it last night to Techie. There's one thing that I had a really huge problem with the series as a whole. Just one thing. Nobody said, I've got a bad feeling about this. And
yes, that's an excellent point.
Every single show, I'm that person who waits for it just so that I can jump up and down and say, he said the thing. And nobody said the thing. And I'm legit disappointed over that.
Yeah. I mean, even like, I got a big kick out of Solo and everything. I said, I've got a good feeling about this. It was like, look, subvert that, generally I'm not a big fan of subverting the expectations, but that one I thought was funny. But then of course we didn't have a bad feeling about it later.
Absolutely. Nobody had a bad feeling. It's like, dude,
somebody's got to have a bad feeling about this.
I think they even had a bad feeling about this when they were doing Star Wars Visions, like somebody, I can't remember who it was, but I remember they said the thing because they said the thing.
Right.
And we didn't get that. And if we did get that, then why don't I remember it? I've seen every episode at least 4 times, and I don't remember hearing that.
Well, it's they didn't actually get it out in Rogue One either, but that's actually one of my favorite usages of the line when they get cut off mid sentence trying to say it.
I think they tried to make the mods say it because she kept saying something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But you kind of lost it in the translation if that's what you were trying to do. Because
it's kind of like if you can do something about the bad things and you don't do it, then you're like the whole Spider-Man thing, but we were going to say the Spider-Man line. It was like, just like come out with it.
Yeah.
Great power comes great responsibility. Just say it. Don't try and like talk around it.
Yeah, just say the thing. Some people just want to hear the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was I know it's a minuscule gripe, but that was my gripe.
That's fair. That's a legitimate gripe.
Thank you.
mean, that's the thing is like, I know there are people that really don't like it, and I get it. I get the complaints. And like, that's fine. Like, that's kind of the way we are here. I mean, with our group, we, having 5 or 6 people rotating on and off of our show, we disagree with each other a lot on the show.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's
I don't
more
feel,
fun that way.
we don't feel the need to make people like things that they don't like. And,
Yeah.
but it's, I mean, the thing I'll say, like I said, I have problems overall. I have problems with the show, with the way it kind of plays out. I think there are things that could have been done to fix it. I would still say is if this was a movie, if we were to rank these alongside movies, I'd still rank it ahead of at least 4 movies.
Yeah. I definitely rank it ahead of 3.
Yeah, 3 for sure.
Yeah.
Alas. Like the longer it goes, the more cynical I get about sequel movies.
Yeah. I mean, I'll always say there were good parts
Mm-hmm.
in those 3, but good as a whole, they're not my favorite.
No, that's fair.
What I will say for this series as a whole is that it has some really, really big, great Star Wars moments. Even this episode has some really great moments. It just kind of loses track of where it's going in the fight at times and gets a little sloppy. And but overall, I think the series is okay. I don't necessarily disagree with Joker if Mandalorian is the standard at this point, and we're calling it an A, it's the standard, then I mean, I could give it a B, but like well, here, maybe a B minus. I know Joker said a C, but it's a C plus. It's right in there. I would say that's fair. And as we get more shows, we'll be able to fine tune where it really fits.
Right.
But I think that overall, I like a lot of the moments in this show, but it doesn't measure up to The Mandalorian.
I think if you're not able to back out of the Book of Boba Fett and look at the bigger picture that it's setting you up for, a lot of people crashed hard on it.
Yeah. So speaking of that bigger picture, what do you think the future of, I mean, we're setting up some interesting things, and what do you think of the future of for Boba Fett, for Finnick, for Tatooine? We're setting Tatooine up to potentially be, we've kind of moved away from the core worlds with the New Republic anyway for the government, even though we're gonna destroy it all in 25 years. But that Tatooine doesn't always have to remain this backwater place. But how do we feel about that? Do we like that about Tatooine?
Speaking of water, and again, Favreau and Filoni don't say anything for just no reason. Tatooine used to be covered in water, like what's going to happen to Tatooine,
So I'm curious about where they're going to go with that. We were teased with that particular storyline in Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
As the planet had once been lush and covered in water, and this idea that it could somehow again.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're going to go that far with it. I think that'd be very interesting, but I think that the idea of the planet being something more than just a backwater planet full of criminals is still sort of bringing the planet back to life, just in a different sense.
Yes. And I think the fact that they are bringing back Cobb Vanth, he's going to be modded, super cool.
Maybe they'll get him some armor, bless his little heart.
What do y'all think about that? Because I'm not sure how I feel about the Marshal being modded. I guess it depends on what they do. I like the character as is. I don't want him to be, Inspector Gadget.
It didn't affect Finnick Shand.
No.
Yeah.
The mods just kind of like this,
Yeah. Yeah. He'll probably get like a new shoulder and maybe an arm out of the deal. I don't think that he's going to go complete cyborg, but I thought it was really cool. It's something that can strengthen him. Is he going to have like a built-in pistol in his hand? And they could do anything with this, really.
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I have mixed feelings about it. I guess it'll depend on what they end up doing.
Yeah.
And I do say, what do y'all think about this? Because I know this is a fairly common thought on making the universe a smaller place.
Mm-hmm.
When you keep coming back to certain characters, keep coming back to certain places. But
I think that I think they're just like, they got to fix all the little things so that all the little worlds can come together, because Thrawn is coming. We know Thrawn is coming. They casted him already. So, we're building up, but we have to fix the little guys first so that everybody's strong enough to come together, so that, it's not a tiny little Freetown clan of 20 people coming and Boba and like 5 mods, they're going to need whole planets in order to fight Thrawn.
And I don't mind continuing to go back to Coruscant or Tatooine, because, Tatooine is such an important fixture. It's like,
so I've been reading in fantasy storytelling, places that are fixtures. Tolkien does this a lot, where certain places are just very important, and we don't even necessarily know why they're important.
Right, exactly.
We just know that they're important to the bigger picture. And Tatooine is that. With Anakin and Luke both coming from Tatooine, and
it's where Star Wars all started for us.
Yeah. So I don't know. I have a real love-hate relationship with the idea of the small world,
small universe
storytelling. Because I do want to see those stories as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that we are going to see, especially some of these other series, I think that we're going to see a lot of other worlds explored.
Oh yeah.
Although that being said, the Kenobi show is going to be firmly on Tatooine, I think.
Yeah.
For almost the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I would love to see some of these other places.
Yeah, no,
really explore a little more. Yep.
Right.
Irams, yes, all of these things. I don't know that I want to go to Nal Hutta.
We need to see Nal Hutta for sure.
You're so gross.
The Smuggler's Moon, we've got to go there. I think
we will.
If Tatooine becomes a more on the up place, then we got to still have that
scum and villainy.
Yeah, because that's it. So
I love the jokes.
Oh, go ahead.
The jokes they kept making about Mos Eisley. And then there's what
anything goes there.
Yeah, anything goes in Mos Eisley. Don't even gonna bother having a conversation about that place. It's such a mess.
We saw what happened to the Pikes, but there's other syndicates, they set us up for that. I think we're going to see that in the future. It's a little disappointed we didn't see Crimson Dawn, but after episodes 5 and 6, there was a lot going on. So I understand why they couldn't keep piling more in. And I am happy with what we got. So the fact that a lot of my expectations didn't play out, that's okay, because look at what we got in 5 and 6. That was amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I agree with Joker. I do agree with you, man. We have a lot of cool places that we've been to in Star Wars that we know are out there and that we've never seen in live action. And I absolutely want to see those things. And then as far as the doing the criminal underworld, I do think we're going to at some point get a show about that. But I think we're going to get a show about that at some point that kind of diverts from this big story we're telling. I don't know that that's all going to be. Yeah, I don't know that that's all going to be tied up in whatever story they're telling. I still think that the big picture story is the rebuilding of of Mandalore and the rebuilding of the Jedi Order.
Yes, I'm excited.
And I'm still hoping that when it comes down to it, the Mandalorians are going to finally get back to Mandalore and discover that that's where Thrawn is hiding out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd be
right.
down for that.
Because then we have a reason for the Mandalorians and everybody else to go to war with Thrawn.
Yeah, yeah. And anything can happen once they start exploring Ahsoka. I mean, like, are they going to bring up the world between worlds? You know,
they could do that. Filoni pretty much said that was that's a dead end.
Oh, I would hate to think that that's true.
But I mean, he proves in the episode why the world between worlds is problematic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, I mean, he goes out of his way to show that it's a problematic idea.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing to stop them from bringing it back up. But Filoni did indicate not long after that was not this like excuse to go retconning things.
Right. And I do get that, but it would be a convenient way to fix several mistakes in the Star Wars universe.
It's true.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts on the future, specifically Boba Fett? Like, where do we see Boba Fett next? Are we going to do a war between the syndicates, or is Boba Fett going to build his power and actually go to fight with the Mandalorians to reclaim Mandalore?
Well, he kind of does owe Mando a big one, like
he does, and we actually kind of, and I do kind of like that we had a conversation between them where, where Mando says, by creed, I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight beside you and die with honor.
Yeah.
And Boba says, you don't really believe that, Bantha Fodder, do you? And it's like, but they're having that conversation, like, because at this point we still don't know. Eventually they're going to have to fill in the rest of Jango's history.
Yeah.
If they want to keep playing, if they just wanted to ignore it and say, definitely not a Mandalorian, do this, then you don't have to worry about it. But they keep kind of like circling. It's like we're circling the drain here. And eventually you have to like give us some sort of clear history of why he either is or is not a Mandalorian, and why he should or shouldn't be concerned with the future of Mandalore.
Right. And let's not forget, I mean, we're getting Bad Batch 2 this year, I think. And eventually they're going to have to tie together Omega and Boba. So that is something in the future, I think.
If they're going to do that, I'm still not totally convinced that they'll ever do it.
Right.
But if they do, I think we'll get hints to that in this next season of the Bad Batch. I think they'll give us hints as to whether or not those two will ever cross paths, but their relationship it's a little different than siblings. Like, they don't necessarily have to run into each other. I mean, if we want to talk about Boba's siblings, there's still probably quite a few
clones,
very old ones around. So
yeah.
I don't know how we do that. Joker, they can definitely do some stuff with the Yuzong Vong. I have very mixed feelings about that. That is actually, when they came into major play in the expanded universe, is when I quit reading the books. So I have it doesn't mean they couldn't do them and do it really, really well. I'm not sure I want it to happen.
I think this is an interesting arc. Even if Mace Windu isn't still around, he may feel the need to go after other people he saw.
But I think that ruins his character growth. I think if we're going to do that, we have to do that in a story before this one.
Because he's tired now. He doesn't want to fight if he doesn't have to.
Right. But the other thing is, like, I did see the conversation about Mace Windu. Even if Mace is alive, I don't think I mean, what are we going to have Boba Fett go hunt down an old man?
Yeah, like how old is he? He was like a grown up when Boba was a kid, you know?
And not young. I mean, he's a senior member of the council. We're not talking about a young man in the prequels. Like, I don't know. I think if you want to tell that
Samuel
story,
L. Jackson an old man?
I did. I think if you want to tell that story, I mean, when you're talking about a man that was, making movies when I was born 42 years ago, like, yeah,
not as young as he used to be. Go with that.
But I don't know. I think if we want to tell that story, that we need to go back to, just a few years, 10 years after Order 66 to tell that story. Like, I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever to still have Mace Windu running around 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to go to the nursing home and just, off him. I don't know.
That's cold. It's real cold.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I didn't get, that I was kind of hoping for, was how come Finnick doesn't remember Omega and tell Boba, like she knows the story, she was there. So I think we'll see something like that in the future too.
Yeah. So I think at some point they'll have to tell us exactly how much Finnick knows.
Yeah. Unless somebody with the Force wiped her mind, because who knows, it is a story.
We've established that the chat people are not Mace Windu fans. They do not love Mace Windu. They do not think he is a swell guy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think Mace was one of the pictures of everything wrong with the Jedi, right?
Yes.
He wasn't the worst of the worst.
No.
We get some clearer pictures of some others in the Clone Wars that were clearly worse than Mace, but he's still a picture of he is the exact opposite of Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah. That dogmatic, that we've all met those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap up? We've kind of passed the hour mark, so
yeah, we have, haven't we?
The one thing that I liked from the very beginning, if you look at all 7 episodes as a whole, it started off with Boba had nothing. He had one friend in Finnick, and when we went through the flashbacks, there was a time that he didn't even have that. He's never had any family. All of his friends, weren't real friends. They all stabbed him in the back. At the end of the series, he had his tribe. He had family. He had friends. His friends made friends with his other friends. So, it's all growing. And he had the respect that he told Finnick that he was going to earn. And he did truly earn it, He didn't force anybody into it. Didn't use any scare tactics. He did exactly what he wanted to do. So, it's kind of like, oh, he did it, So
yeah.
I got that feeling out of it.
The one other scene that I really did mean to mention that I really enjoyed, I won't go deep into it, but I do want to mention it, is was the final scene with Finnick when Finnick finishes off all the bosses of all the different groups. I mean, because we know she's the badass and she's different. Like, our other guys are bounty hunters. She's an assassin, and we do get to see the master assassin at work.
Yes,
it was really, really
cool. Like she comes and my kids all go
when she gets the Ithorian with the wire, and all my kids, like my son, like goes.
I loved it. I mean, we all kind of did need it. As much as I like this whole, I do need that little bit of badassery.
Yeah,
it was great. It was great.
Just in case you forgot that she's scary.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason he goes around and introduces her as, this is my master assassin.
Master assassin.
Oh my gosh, Nick.
Did you film it?
I was going to say, I hope you took some video.
Wow.
I'm sorry, that's not funny, Megan, but I'm still thinking of the Oh, man.
All right. Well, that's a good place to wrap up. Thank you again so much for joining us. I thank you to everybody in the chat for coming. Joker, we will be keeping an eye out for your short tomorrow, and we will be sure to share it all around Twitter and wherever else we can. Yep. All right. But yeah, thanks again to everybody that joined us in the chat tonight. Kelly, I'll let you tell everybody where they can find you online.
Sure. You can find me at anywhere with the Sidebar Cantina. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord. We're no longer doing Getter. We let that kind of die. But in turn, I am on TikTok now, but I promise I won't be doing any dances.
But we will see pictures, like, dancing pictures of grunge stage, right?
I will try to hunt down those pictures for you.
I might actually have to get a TikTok to see this.
I'm not going to put them on TikTok. No.
Oh, come on. You can be the new biggest thing on TikTok. What your moms did in high school. You know how you think you're cool. We thought we were cool too.
I was cool. No, I wasn't cool. I was a grunger nerd. I was not cool. But yeah, you could find any of the Sidebar Cantina information at bio.link/the Sidebar Cantina. The guys go live again on Monday at 5:30 Eastern, where they will be doing 30 years since Wayne's World. It's
Wow.
30.
Really?
On Monday. Yes.
Wow.
30.
Doesn't make me feel old at all.
I know, but party time excellent Monday, 5:30.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Marisha, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at princesses_and_padawans, and I'm P Padawans on Twitter.
Awesome. And we'll see. Marisha's not going to be around as much. She got a job, so she might not be around as much for a few weeks, but I'm sure she'll make it on some.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
But you can find me running the Twitter account for this show at crew_podcast, at CRU_podcast. You can find us. You can drop us a line at CoruscantRadioUnderground@gmail.com. And as always, you can find us at Red 5 Network on Twitter, where you'll find us as well as the rest of the Red 5 Network. And when you go there, I would say the best way to track down all of the latest from the Red 5 Network is that bio link pinned to the top of the Red 5 account.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thanks again. And until next time, may the force be with you.
This podcast is part of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts, visit red5network.com.